Now, our final presentation is going to look at localization and standard language codes. And we're going to hear to tell us about that Meg Morrissey, co-chair of the Language Metadata Table and Senior DEM Architect and Head of Professional Service for Media Valet. Meg, are you there? Can we hear you and can we see you? Are your slides ready to go?
Yes.
Wonderful,
Hi.
Meg. We can see multiple iterations of you on my screen, but I'm glad to see
Oh
that you're
my.
there because we are really rattling through these presentations today. It's kind of a rapid fire round, but as you're last to speak, you have a double-edged sword. People have lots of energy and lots of information from the day, but it's also the final one, so it's your job to keep people entertained and informed for the last 10 minutes of your presentation. I think we have your slides more or less ready to go now. Do we have the slides ready?
Yes, let me
Yes.
go ahead and get that set up for share.
Okay, Meg, I can see that it's starting to happen. I know we're using a lot of different tools here, so if you
Yes.
are able to share your content directly, that's great. And I will remind again our audience, I'm sure they're tired of me telling them, but to make sure they send their questions in time, because we get all these things set up and then at the end everyone asks the questions and our presenters are already finished. So Meg, handing over to you, Language Metadata Table and the Cloud Localization Blueprint. Please take it away.
Great. First, I just want to confirm you can see, oh, you know what, never mind. I can see your screen, so I know you can see mine. So welcome, hi, to the Language Metadata Table and the Cloud Localization Blueprint. As noted, I'm Meg Morrissey, and today I'm speaking in my capacity as a co-chair of the LMT. The LMT is sponsored by MESA, which is a global media and entertainment support association. MESA supports service providers, promotes thought leadership, and has created really a true culture of community for those involved in media and entertainment. The LMT committee members are from across studios, vendors, and other standards organizations. The data structure itself is supported within Synaptica. We leverage the most flexible standard, the Internet Engineering Task Force's Best Common Practice, number 47, or BCP 47 for short. The level of flexibility, however, creates room for conflicting codes where one looks accurate at first blush but doesn't hold up to research. The LMT is a standardized table of language codes that have been vetted by professionals and language experts who understand the structure and relationship between languages. That level of rigor informs codes that are not only compliant with the BCP 47 standard, but also best represent each language. The LMT fills a gap in metadata codes. There are over 40,000 possible language code combinations using the BCP 47 format, and only about 6,000 languages are spoken in the world. That opportunity for minute errors that lead to information breakdowns is pretty high. The LMT was created to provide a unified source of reference for language codes that can be used throughout media and entertainment industries. And I do also want to note that it is expanding beyond media and entertainment. So the LMT, here's a little bit about our scope. The LMT only provides codes for languages. We do notate script and writing systems when appropriate for ultimate clarity. We also provide researched and vetted endonyms and exonyms. So an endonym is the language name in that country's language. So what I would say is French is français. And an exonym is that language name as spoken in other countries, so French in English or Französisch in German. And as you can see, BCP 7, BCP 47 relies on a combination of standards to ensure that the full combination may be validated independently using these well-maintained codes. So because each of these standards has its own rigor and support system, we can be sure that the BCP 47 code is easy to validate by anyone who can look up these standards and consistent. Languages do change over time. We know languages are really a reflection of the political landscape of our world. And by leveraging these existing standards, we can ensure that our language codes are accurate for today. We do keep up with any changes made to any of these standards to ensure that our codes are current as well. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the Cloud Localization Blueprint. The IBC Accelerator program is an innovation framework for the media and entertainment ecosystem. So there are a few goals for the Cloud Localization Blueprint. Formally design and document a comprehensive blueprint that's going to include best practices, key considerations for building that cloud-based media supply chain for localization and entertainment content. This is the direction where everything is going, is making sure that things are cloud-based and that across the entire supply chain, the codes and everything are going to move smoothly. So that means consistency. This will also improve visibility and tracking for those activities. It gets undertaken by a lot of stakeholders across this. So your content owners, the licensees, everyone who's making adjustments and using this content. And because this is going to provide that visibility, it's going to mean faster time to market. And it's going to mean more consistent contractual transactions. So this is where the LMT comes in. We are the language code solution for the Cloud Localization Blueprint. So this is a little bit of what the Cloud Localization Blueprint looks like. So as you can see, there are a lot of moving parts, as there always are in the media supply chain. And we just noted in here where you'll see the LMT being leveraged. So there are a few places, any places where we're talking about language, any places where we're talking about other adjustments to content that are language based or include language in any way. We want to make sure that we've got that consistent code in there. So these are the metadata fields that are available from the LMT. Just a few things to note, we separate our visual and audio languages to accommodate for languages like Chinese, where there are 2 script options, simplified and traditional, but there are many more spoken dialects. And we use the term visual language instead of written to be inclusive of not only written languages, but also sign languages. Actually, I'm going to give you another minute on this one because there's a lot. And another little bit of a breakdown here. We do provide language grouping because that can provide structure and flexibility for localization. We provide that audio tag. We have multiple options for descriptions for that long description. And we do that because, and the same with the display name, because occasionally there are multiple options that are on equal footing, or there is an alternative, and we want to make sure that we are accommodating for that. We work with systems that are old and new, and we just want to make sure that we're keeping that flexible while also keeping the code consistent. We also provide the URL for each language value so that this can be leveraged in a way that is more automated. So here's a few examples of the LMT. These are some entries that kind of give you an idea of the breadth of what this covers. As you can see, we can be very generic with this. English, pretty straightforward. We also have Spanish, and you can see that this is Spanish is spoken in Latin America. So this is where we start to get more granular. We have this in English so that the practitioners who are in domestic areas can see this, and then we also have it in that display name, which is going to be the endonym. You can see the breakdown of this code. This example is ES-419. So that is ES, which is the ISO 639 code for Spanish, -419, which is the UN's code for Latin America. And we put in Serbo-Croatian as an option here so that you can see how we include both the Latin and Cyrillic as options for those display names for the tags. Chinese, that example I mentioned previously, where they have simplified script, and then Mandarin is spoken only. So that's just an audio language entry. Armenian had a really interesting option here because Western Armenian is spoken by the diaspora. So this one required a significant amount of research to make sure that we got this one in there correctly. We do also include sign languages. This example is American Sign Language, but we have many other options for that. We can be reached at lmt@mesaonline.org, and these are the links to information about that cloud localization blueprint. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much indeed for that, Meg. Quite a detailed, as you say, some of those slides. And I have got one question that's come through asking whether there were any cases in which you had problems encoding the language using your system. I know you've mentioned specific languages there, the Armenian diaspora, but tell us a bit more about, in general, challenges you felt that you do overcome with specific cases, or any examples that you have.
Oh, absolutely. We've got lots of examples. Languages can be incredibly complex. I remember the first time I started handling language metadata and thought, oh, this is simple. English is English. I laugh at myself now because it's much more complex than that, because people are complex and the way that we organize our lives are complex. Something we recently went through was we had, something that we do subcommittees to do research for particular issues that we might have, and we loop in experts from all over. We recently went through a significant chunk of updates for languages for the Indian subcontinent, and we included experts from Al Jazeera. We had local experts from Cube, which is a media and entertainment company based in, I believe, in India. So we had experts from that area. We worked through all of those languages that were impacted by that, and were able to revise and revamp that section and really make that section of our language codes much more robust. We do that for a lot of them. One that we are still working through right now is hybrid languages, which is a very interesting use case. Hinglish and Spanglish are two that we're working on right now.
Well, let me ask you as well. I mean, many of the previous speakers have said things like, it's not a destination, it's a journey. I mean, how completist is it? I mean, what is the future of LMT? What are your views on whether that's true, that it is a constantly evolving situation?
Oh, language is a constantly evolving conversation. The way that we use language now is different from how it was 100 years ago. We have we have countries that didn't exist 100 years ago, and we have to make sure that our information reflects that current state. One of the challenges that we sometimes come across is that we also have legacy content that includes languages that either are only spoken by a handful of groups. And in that case, we have to be very careful in making sure that we are speaking with the right experts so that we get the most accurate information. And we are going to continue to do so. As I mentioned, we keep up to date with those standards that are the building blocks of BCP 47. And because of that, we are able to continue ensuring that the codes that we offer through the table are accurate. And we're going to keep doing that.
And finally, Meg, what's the takeaway? What do you want to say as you know your wrap up thought to give to? We've got a lot of experts all joining us this week. They've more to hear tomorrow and Thursday, but you're the last speaker on the first day. If there's anything that you want to deliver as a takeaway, now's your chance.
I'd say that the takeaway is that localization is only expanding. And we are getting more and more hyperlocal as we have the opportunity and as we understand the importance of providing content that is relatable and that reflects and respects the reality of everyone. We are localizing in languages now in the last 10 years that we hadn't before. And we're going to continue to expand, and having consistent metadata codes for language is going to only grow in importance as localization continues to expand and as we're able to make it more nimble.
Well, thank you very much, Meg. Thank you for joining us. Apologies for the small technical hitches at the beginning, but it was great to get your presentation and your thoughts. So thank you very much.